Cost of capital is something without understanding it, it is just not possible to take any decision in business. So what is cost of capital? In business, we use different sources of capital, and those sources from where we bring the capital into the business are not free. We have to pay for it. So the cost that we incur for those sources is the cost of capital. Now please remember what purpose the cost of capital serves. Cost of capital is one concept which is relevant and applicable in a business at every stage. So the cost of capital will help you in preparation of budget for the company. Cost of capital will help you in taking organic decisions, inorganic growth decisions. Cost of capital will help you in forex management, forex risk management. Cost of capital will help you in derivatives. Cost of capital will help you in doing the accounting as per Ind AS. Cost of capital will also help you in arriving at your business valuations. So that is the significance of cost of capital. Now the third question is, what is WACC? Is it same as WACOC? WACC is weighted average cost of capital. WACOC and WACC are same. What is WACC? WACC is weighted average cost of capital. Meaning what? In a business, you will have money coming from different sources. All those sources do not have the same cost. All these sources, remember, all these sources in a business of capital are different in quantum. Not only they are different in quantum, but the rates of interest or cost are also different. And therefore, what you do, you find out the combined cost of all those sources put together. That is referred as weighted average cost of capital. Are WACC and COC same or different? WACC is weighted average cost of capital, which is the combined cost of all the sources. Cost of capital, when you say, cost of capital is a generic term. It can be cost of capital for the preference share, cost of capital for debenture, cost of capital for equity, cost of capital for reserves, cost of capital for FCCB, and so on and so forth. So therefore, WACC and COC are not same, they are different, but they can be same in only one case. That means a WACC is also cost of capital. Is the WACC cost of capital or cost of capital is the WACC? So remember, WACC is cost of capital. Cost of capital is not WACC, because cost of capital can be for any source. Every WACC is cost of capital, but every cost of capital is not WACC. Question number 7. Can cost of capital also be referred as cost of equity? The answer is not in all cases. Cost of equity is also cost of capital, but cost of capital, remember, is for different sources. Can between the COC, between the cost of capital and cost of equity, which is generic and which is specific? Cost of capital is generic, cost of equity is specific. Is cost of capital same as cost of equity? Cost of debt, cost of preference share, cost of bond, cost of debenture, and also WACC. So remember, so cost of capital can be for preference share, for debenture, for term loan, for FCCB, for different instruments. How to determine the cost of capital? And this is what you must be more attentive. How to determine the cost of capital? So remember, if you have to determine the cost of capital, you have to understand there are primarily two sources of capital. One is debt and second is equity. Determination of cost of capital for a debt instrument is never a challenge. And why it is never a challenge? Because debt instrument will have a fixed rate of interest. On fixed rate of interest, according to which interest has to be paid on the debt. So the cost in case of debt instrument is equal to the rate of interest minus the tax saving. And this is where you must pay more attention. Remember, whenever you borrow, you pay interest. And when you pay interest, you save on tax. And why do you save on tax? You save on tax because interest is a tax deductible expense. So you will pay tax on the profit before tax. That means from the PBIT, you will minus the figure of interest, and then what remains is your PBT or EBT. On that you will pay tax. So since interest is a tax deductible expense, it helps you save tax. For example, if your rate of interest is 10%, let's say on a debenture that your company has issued, the rate of interest is 10%, and let's say your tax rate is, your corporate tax rate is 25%. Now since you are paying interest to the extent of 25% of 10%, you will save by way of tax. And therefore, even though your rate of interest is 10%, effectively what is going from your pocket is 7.5%. And this is how you will determine the cost of debt. So remember, determining cost of debt is never a problem. Rate of interest minus the tax saving becomes your effective cost of debt. The problem is how to determine the cost of equity. And why it is a problem to determine the cost of equity? Because in case of equity, you do not have any fixed obligation. So there is no provision anywhere in the world where on an equity share capital, you have to pay dividend at a fixed rate of dividend. No, there is no such provision anywhere in the globe. And then the question is how to find out the cost of equity. Then answer of course is the cost of equity is nothing but the expectation of the owner of the company or investors of the company or the shareholders of the company. So that is the cost of equity is the expectation of the investor, shareholder. But then there is a problem. And what is the problem? The problem is a company will have thousands and lakhs of shareholders. So if the thousands and lakhs of shareholders, they will have their different expectations. So somebody would expect a return of 10%, somebody would expect a return of 15%, somebody would expect a return of 20%, somebody might just be happy with 8%. So if tens and thousands and lakhs of people are the shareholder and they have different expectation, then how do you determine the cost of equity? So what you do, you use a model which is known as Capital Asset Pricing Model, CAPM. So CAPM is what is used for the purpose of determining cost of equity. And why CAPM is used to determine the cost of equity? Because CAPM takes care of each and every aspect of return. It starts with risk-free rate of return. That means what? That means the money that you have used, you have deployed in the business, if you would have put that money only in risk-free instrument, how much you would have earned? So obviously, utna to aapko milna chahiye. So risk-free rate of return is the starting point. So you start with the risk-free rate of return, then you say plus, and you take something which is known as beta. Now what is beta? Beta is an indicator of risk. And how it is an indicator of risk? It is an indicator of risk because it shows relationship between return on the equity or return on the company of that you are talking about and the return on the market. So market can be an index here. So what you do, you establish a covariance between the return on the company over a period of time and the return on the index. And that covariance is referred as beta. Now what this beta tells you? This beta tells you the risk of this company in which you have invested. So let's say for example, if the company in which you have made the investment is risk is not risky vis-a-vis the market, then its beta is going to be 1. That means if the market increases by 1%, by 10%, this company's return also will increase by 10% because the beta is 1. That means the risk of this company is same as the risk of the market. But that will not happen generally. That will never happen invariably. Invariably what will happen? A company will have a beta which is more than 1 or less than 1. So if the beta is more than 1, that means what? That means this company is that much extra risky. So if the beta is 1.5, that means this company is riskier 1 times more than the risk of the market. इसका क्या मतलब हुआ? इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि since this company, since money that you have invested, since your money that you have invested in a company is more riskier, that means for that risk you must get extra return. So you start with the risk-free rate plus beta and start the bracket. In the bracket what you write? In the bracket first you write the return, market return, and from the market return you minus the risk-free rate of return. Now please understand, market return minus risk-free return is what? Is the market premium. So let's say for example, the market return is 10% and the risk-free return is 7%. That means if you would have invested your money into the risk-free investment, you would have earned 7%. Now that you have invested your money into the market, you must get a premium. So what is that premium is going to be? That premium is going to be 3%. Why 3%? Because market return is 10% and the risk-free rate is return is 7%. So the difference is 3%. 3% that you are earning, you will earn because of the market premium. Now please remember, your beta is 1.5. So since your beta is 1.5, therefore what you need to earn, what you need to get return is 3 into 1.5, that is 4.5. So 4.5 you need to get extra return because you are investing into the market, plus the 7% which is the risk-free rate of return. 7 plus 4.5 becomes 11.5%. So 11.5% is supposed to be your cost of equity. That means if you are investing your money into the equity of a company and beta of that company is 1.5, then you can expect a return of 11.5% in that case. And this is how you determine the cost of equity.
Sir, please will you repeat it a bit slowly?
Okay. Now see, in any case, this session is getting recorded. If that helps you, I can repeat it slowly, not a problem at all. But this session is getting recorded and you will be getting the link of this session. So अगर ये आपके लिए sufficient है तो मैं आगे बढ़ सकता हूँ. Otherwise I can repeat it. There is no problem. Very good. Very good. Okay. So this is how you will determine the cost of equity. Now the question is, does CAPM model give you accurate cost of equity? And the answer is no. And why the answer is no? Because if I have to say that 11.5% is accurate cost of equity, I can say it is accurate cost of equity only when I am able to compare it with some other number. So that means if I have to say 11.5% is accurate cost of equity, then I must know as to what is the accurate cost of equity that I don't know. And therefore, please remember, CAPM model does not give you accurate cost of equity. It only gives you a most authentic number that is dependable and reliable. And why it is dependable and reliable as cost of equity? Because it is taking into account all the relevant factors. It is taking into account the risk-free rate of return. It is taking into account the additional risk by way of beta, and it is taking into account the market premium. So since it is taking all the factors into account, CAPM is considered to be most dependable, reliable, authentic reference model for determining cost of equity globally. Right. Okay. So let's move forward now. Why cost cost of equity will always be higher than the WACC. Is this true? Answer is yes. Cost of equity will always be higher than the weighted average cost of capital for two reasons. Reason number one, the cost of equity, the equity capital is coming from the investors. Investors are the ones who are taking the maximum risk. Why they are taking maximum risk? They are taking maximum risk because they have no guarantee of getting a return, and number two, they have no security of getting their money back. So since they do not have a guarantee of a return and they do not have a security of getting their money back, and that is why obviously their expectation in terms of return is much higher than the expectation of return by the people who are giving debt to the company. People who are giving debt to the company have an assured interest rate as a return, and number two, they have assured guarantee of getting their money back by way of mortgage that they would have on the assets of the company. So that is reason number one as to why the cost of equity will always be higher than the cost of debt or the WACC. Now, why the cost of equity will always be higher than the WACC is because how do you calculate the WACC? WACC is the weighted average cost of the equity and the debt, right? So it has got the equity and the debt. Cost of debt is lower than the cost of equity, and therefore the WACC is always diluted. WACC is always diluted, and therefore the weighted average cost of capital will always be lower than the cost of equity. Now, can beta of a company be negative? Can beta of a company be negative? Now, in my understanding, it is just not possible to think that beta of a company will be negative. Why do I say this? Please remember, because let's say the share of Tata or share of Maruti or share of Wipro or share of Infosys or share of Tata Steel or share of Hero, any company's share or share of any bank, ICICI Bank or State Bank of India, share of any bank, when you compare the returns of these companies that I have just spoken with the index, now you will arrive at a beta. Now, what that relationship can be? The relationship can be that the share of that company, whether it is Maruti or Tata Steel or Wipro or Infosys, in terms of risk, it cannot be negative. That means it is highly unlikely to think that the share, the return on the market are increasing and return on these shares are becoming negative. So it is or going down. Now it is highly improbable to think that a company, the market is going up, and since the market is going up, that is why share of some companies are going down. Now that is highly improbable to think, and therefore in my view, what can happen worse, the beta between the index and the share of a company will always be positive. It can be low, it can be 0.5, it can be 0.1, or it can be 2, or it can be more than that can happen. But beta becoming minus between the return of a company and return on an index, in my view, is impossible to think. But beta can be negative if you compare return between two different forms of investment. So if you compare return, if you try and find out beta of return between stocks and gold, or real estate and stock, and gold and real estate, if you try and find out beta between these two different forms of return, then it is possible that beta can be negative. And why beta can be negative? Because in that case it is possible, because by experience we know that when the share market is going up, the return on the gold goes down. And why the return on the gold goes down, or why the prices of the gold go down? Because what happens, since the share market is going up, people who have invested their money into gold, they liquidate it and transfer that money into the share market. Or real estate, if the real estate is going good, then it is possible, and then it is possible that if the real estate is doing good, it is possible that the share market may not do that well. Why? Because since the real estate is in boom, then people who have invested their money into share market, it is possible they might liquidate and put that money into the real estate. So between two different forms of investment, it is possible that beta may be negative, but between the share of one company and the index, it is highly improbable that beta will be negative. What is risk? How are the returns connected with risk? Okay, so risk, remember friends, is nothing but uncertainty. Risk is nothing but uncertainty. If I start this business, I'm likely to incur loss. If I start this business, I'm likely to incur loss. This is uncertainty risk. If I start this business, I'm definitely going to incur loss. It is not risk, it is loss. So remember, risk is nothing but uncertainty. Where there is uncertainty, there is a risk. When there is no uncertainty, there is no risk, because then it is the result. How are the risk connected with the return? Obviously, higher the risk, higher the return. What is systematic risk? Please understand, it's very simple. No need to get confused. Systematic risk means a risk arising out of a system is a systematic risk. So what is a systematic risk? Systematic risk is risk arising out of system, and since it is arising out of system, it is going to impact everyone across the board. Pandemic is a system, is a systematic risk. And why pandemic is a systematic risk? Because pandemic has impacted everyone. So a risk arising out of a system is systematic risk. What is unsystematic risk? Unsystematic risk is risk which is not arising out of system, which is peculiar to a particular company, which is peculiar to a particular industry, and that is your unsystematic risk. So let's say hotel industry. Hotel industry was impacted during the pandemic. Because of the pandemic, all the companies in the hotel industry got impacted. So that impact will not affect the beta. And why that impact will not affect the beta? Because all the companies have got impacted because of pandemic by the same degree. So the beta of this of a particular hotel company in the hotel industry will not be impacted, because pandemic has impacted everyone across the board. But a company in that industry which is highly leveraged, its beta will be higher. Why? Because highly leveraged company, the risk arising out of high leverage is not a systematic risk. It is unsystematic risk. Why it is unsystematic risk? Because this risk is peculiar to this particular company. So this is, for friends, what you need to remember. Systematic risk is the risk which is impacting everyone across the economy or everyone across the industry. Unsystematic risk is the risk which is impacting a particular industry or within a particular industry, a particular company. So this is how one would explain what is systematic risk and the unsystematic risk. How do these impact the beta? I have explained to you. Systematic risk will not impact the beta. Unsystematic risk will impact the beta. What is modified CAPM? Please remember, we just discussed what is CAPM. CAPM is capital asset pricing model, and what purpose CAPM serves. CAPM serves the purpose of letting you know what is the cost of equity for a particular company. What is the cost of equity for a particular company? Now, there is something called as modified CAPM. Now, what is modified CAPM? Modified CAPM is, it is possible that a particular company in a particular industry may have a specific risk which is only to that particular company, right? So which is over and above the beta, and therefore for arriving at the fair value, you as the valuer may like to factor that additional risk that is known as specific risk premium. So when you add that specific market risk factor, then it becomes modified CAPM. So that is what is your modified CAPM. What is YTM? Now we might overstretch by 10 minutes. I'll try and finish it as quickly as possible. YTM, friends, is yield to maturity. Is YTM same as IRR? Answer is yes. Is yield to maturity same as IRR? Answer is yes. Why? IRR is what? IRR is a rate of return at which, if the cash flows of a project are discounted, present value of those cash flows, the net present value of those cash flows will be 0. Same is the case with the YTM. What is the difference? IRR you will use in case of a project. YTM you will use in case of a security. That is the only difference. Otherwise, YTM and IRR serve the same purpose. Can YTM also be taken as cost of capital? Of course, yes. YTM is used as a reference rate for the purpose of decision making in fixed income securities. So YTM can of course be referred as a cost of capital. What is effective interest rate? EIR. Effective interest rate, friends, is the rate which happens in case the rate of interest is compounding one. So that means in case the investment that you have made is earning you the given rate of interest, and not only it is earning you the given rate of interest, but the interest that you have earned on that also it is earning you interest. So in case of compound interest, your effective rate of interest is going to be more than the stated rate of interest, and that is your EIR, effective interest rate. Now please remember and pay attention here. IRR, YTM and EIR, all of them have the same purpose to serve. So effective interest rate you will use in case of accounting for the lease transactions. You will use it for accounting of lease transaction. So in case of lease transactions, what happens? You are getting, let's say you are the lessor. So you are a lessor. So you are earning the lease rental, right, on an asset in which you have made the investment. So what is EIR? Effective interest rate is the rate at which present value of all the lease rentals that you are receiving, or net present value of all the lease rentals that you are receiving on this asset will become 0. So that is why, please remember, I am sure this is going to help you when you start preparing, because these terms are very confusing and merely by reading you are not really able to comprehend. So therefore, I am sure this will help you. So remember, IRR, YTM and EIR are same. What is NPV? NPV is net present value, and I'm sure we all know how to calculate the net present value. Is 0 NPV a break-even point? Answer is no. If NPV is coming to 0, it does not mean that the project is breaking even. It means that this project is giving you a return which is exactly as you wanted. So when you are getting NPV as 0, that means you have discounted the future cash flows, and the discounted value of those future cash flows by your cost of capital is coming to 0. That means कि जितना रिटर्न आपको चाहिए था इस प्रोजेक्ट से, वो आपको उतना ही रिटर्न मिल रहा है. So that means, please remember, if NPV is 0, it does not mean it is break even. It means you are getting return as much as you wanted. You're not getting more return. You are getting only as much as you wanted. For a capex using the given COC, NPV comes to 0. What should the promoters do? तो एक capex के लिए using the discount your cost of capital, NPV is coming 0. What should the promoters do? If the promoters do not have any other option to invest, then the promoters should invest into this project without any hesitation. Why? Because if they do not have any other opportunity to make investment, then what will happen? They will sit on cash which is idle. They will not earn anything, which means they will be incurring losses. Is cost of capital static in nature or it is dynamic? Is cost of capital static in nature or it is dynamic? The answer is cost of capital is dynamic. It is changing every day. Please remember, since the cost of capital is changing every day, therefore the valuations that we do are also changing every day. And therefore, whenever somebody will ask you for the valuation, they will tell you that we want the valuation as of this date. So in case if they forget to tell you that we want valuation as of this date, you remind them and tell them, please let me know what is the valuation date that you are looking for. Will cost of capital be same for every businessman or business? Answer is no. The cost of capital will never be same for two people. The cost of capital will never be same for two businesses. The cost of capital will never be same for two industries. The cost of capital will never be same for two different geographies. The cost of capital will vary depending on the businessman, the business, the industry, the economy and geography, because all these factors impact the cost of capital. So it will never be the same. Why do we discount the future cash flows? We discount the future cash flows so that we are able to convert the future cash flows in terms of present value. We want to convert the future cash flows in terms of present value so that we are able to make a apple to apple comparison possible. And that is the reason why we do the discounting of future cash flows. While discounting the future cash flows, what do we try to achieve? While discounting the future cash flows, we try to achieve apple to apple comparison. Because कल को जो मुझे पैसा मिल रहा है in terms of nominal value, it is of no significance to me. It is of significance to me only when it is converted in terms of present value. Is the purpose of discounting future cash flows to ascertain the purchasing power of future cash flows? The answer is no. The purpose of discounting future cash flows is not to find out the purchasing power of the future cash flow. If you have to find out the purchasing power of future cash flows, please remember, you will not discount the future cash flows with your cost of capital. You will discount them with the rate of inflation. And remember, the rate of inflation is same for everyone. There are 140 billion people in this country. The rate of inflation is same for 140 billion people, same. But the cost of capital for 140 people is not same. It will be different. And therefore, if you want to find out the purchasing power of future cash flow, use the inflation rate and not the discounting rate. If value of money was to be constant over the years, will you still require to discount the future cash flow? Answer is no. If the value of money, the future money was to be same, was to be same as it is today, why do I need to do the discounting? I need to do the discounting because I want to convert the future cash flow in terms of present value. If the value of rupee is same of today and tomorrow, I do not have to convert it in terms of present value because it is already in terms of present value. So we will not have to do the discounting if it is to be the same. Is it possible to find time value of money without cost of capital? Answer is no. You cannot find out the time value of money without using cost of capital. For if you have to find out the time value of money, you have to use the cost of capital. What is COCE? Is it same as COC or WACC? What is COCE? COCE is cost of capital employed. COCE is cost of capital employed. It is same as WACC. So sometimes they would say WACC, sometimes they would say COCE, because COCE is the cost of all the capital employed. What is ROCE? What is its relevance in measurement of business performance? ROCE is return on capital employed. Return on capital employed, friends, please remember, is very important parameter, very important KPI for evaluating performance of business. Is very important parameter. So return on capital employed, ROCE, tells you what? It tells you as a business what return you have given to the people who have given you capital, and that is your return on capital employed. It's used very extensively globally for the purpose of business performance evaluation and also for the purpose of deciding bonuses for the senior executives. Of course, now it is getting changed to EVA. What is the relationship between the ROCE and SOCE? ROCE is return on capital employed. SOCE is cost of capital employed. The relationship between the ROCE and SOCE is, if you minus SOCE from ROCE, if you minus cost of capital employed from the return on capital employed, what you get in your hand is something which is known as EVA, economic value added, which is the most commonly used parameter for evaluating business performance across the globe, and that is what is your EVA. What are the different types of cash flows for the purpose of business valuation? We have discussed that. So you have two different types of cash flows. One is FCFF and second is FCFE. FCFF you will discount by WACC or by cost of capital employed. FCFE you will discount by cost of equity. What is weighted average rate of return on an assets? So remember, you have 10 different assets and those 10 different assets are giving you return. So as you calculate your weighted average cost of capital, same way you calculate your weighted average rate of return. So what you need to do, you have 10 different assets. What is the investment in those assets? What is the return? So find out the total return and total investment, and when you calculate the figure, it will give you your weighted average rate of return. So it is, the method of calculation is same as you will calculate, as you will use for calculating weighted average cost of capital. Alright friends, so is cost of capital of any business is the minimum rate of return expected by the owner and investor? Answer of course is yes. Can the return expectation of business owner be taken as cost of capital of that business? Answer is yes. Can business valuation be done without understanding the cost of capital? Answer is no. So for business valuation friends, we really have to have a very good handle on cost of capital. So friends, with this I come to the close of this session that I have to share with you. In case if you have any question, you can please go ahead. I will be very happy to take all your questions. Thank you so much for your participation in this session. Thank you. And I also wish all of you great success in passing this examination. Great and quickest success in passing this examination. Thank you so much. Thank you.